And we're here with the Rebellion Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Staker. Okay, today's episode, we're doing something a little fun, kind of silly, but I like to do stuff like this. I love doing hypothetical lineups. That's just kind of always been my thing, like coming up with players that might fit well with other players, and what team would you put together to beat this team, that sort of thing. Like it's always been it's fun for me, right? So I came up with, let's build a team to beat the Connecticut Huskies, the team that just won the national championship, the team that's arguably, in the conversation with one of the greatest teams of all time, right? They were very dominant in the tournament. They didn't have a single close game. Even Purdue, they kicked the crap out of. So I thought it would be fun just to make a list of former UNLV players, and to make it a challenge, you get a budget, right? You get $15 to build a team, and you have $5 players, $4 players, $3 players, $2 players, and $1 players, okay? So you have to do the math to make sure the players you pick equal out to $15, right? And, the way it's supposed to work is the $5 players are better than the $4 players, are better than the $3, so on and so forth, right? So your $1 players are your least valuable, and the 5 are the best, okay, if that makes sense. So what I did is I just made my own list, all right? And I did, so I picked $5 players, $4 players, all the way down to 1, all right? And then I sent this out to several people. I said, all right, you have to build a team to beat UCONN. Who's your team? And people, they like to strategize, and that's what makes it fun, is to think like, all right, how well would this team fit together, all right? Okay, so the $5 players I have Larry Johnson, Stacy Augmon, Greg Anthony, Shawn, Marion, and Armen Gilliam. Okay, so they cost $5. The $4 players I have Marcus Banks, J.R. Ryder, Sidney Green, Keyon Clark, and Anthony Bennett. The $3 players I have Dwane Thomas, Derrick Jones Jr., Patrick McCaw, Joel Anthony, and Cass Kambala. $2 players I have Oscar Bellfield, Anthony Marshall, Keylan Boone, Steven Zimmerman, and Royce Hamm. $1 players I have Justin Hawkins, David Muoka, Dwane Morgan, Marvin Coleman, and Jelan Kendrick. Okay? Very random mixture of players, I know. There's so many different players that I could have added to this, but I didn't. It kind of makes it more fun, though. Okay? When you have a smaller pool of players to choose from, it makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of choose your team. All right, so here's some of the lineups that I got back when I sent it out to people. So my best friend Kyle, he said his team is going to be Dwane Thomas, Anthony Marshall, Shawn, Marion, Steven Zimmerman, and Joel Anthony. My first thought when looking at his lineup was, you really don't have LJ? There's no Larry Johnson? I think, you have to have Larry Johnson. I mean, when you think about Larry Johnson, we're talking about, not only was he a experienced senior, but he was the number 1 pick in the draft. And today in college basketball, you really don't get both a really talented player and a really experienced player. You kind of get one or the other. You get the experienced senior who's not talented enough to be drafted into the NBA, and then you had the freshman or sophomore super talented player that's not going to be as experienced. But Larry Johnson had both, and he was the rookie of the year, superstar. I think you have to have Larry Johnson, in my opinion. Anyways, he didn't. He went with Shawn Marion as his $5 player. Other than that, though, I do like his team. Not a lot of shooting. That could be an issue. Dwane, true point guard, so obviously I get why you would pick him. My fear would be him being a 18-year-old true freshman. How would he do against that UConn team? But other than that, so I guess his strategy, he wanted to go with high IQ guys, so he picked a bunch of really smart players, which was smart. I like that. Okay, also my brother gave me his lineup. He went with Justin Hawkins, Pat McCaw, Larry Johnson, Anthony Bennett, and Steven Zimmerman. So one of the things I thought of was having Bennett and LJ together on the same team is interesting. I kind of don't see them being a great fit. I don't know. I could see Larry Johnson and Anthony Bennett kind of being like Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard situation, where LJ is just so frustrated and annoyed with Bennett for not not taking it serious enough or not playing hard enough or goofing around too often. I don't know why. I could just see LJ trying to rip your throat out and Bennett just kind of just being da 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 da. So I don't love the fit of having both of those guys on the same team. Talent wise though, it's an awesome team. Okay, and super athletic. My brother-in-law David, his team was Didon Thomas, Anthony Marshall, Keylan Boone, Larry Johnson, Joel Anthony. This one's really good. I actually really like this one. He has a true point guard. He has Anthony Marshall, the athletic slashing guard. Keylan Boone, who can shoot, score down low, good defender. Larry Johnson, then Joel Anthony, who's, shot blocking machine. He's kind of perfect center to go. It's funny is when I sent him this, he responded, Anthony Bennett should be free. I was like, all right, that's a little harsh for a former number 1 pick, but so yeah, I do really like his team he came up with. That's a good one. And then my mom said Stacy Augmon, Greg Anthony, Anthony Marshall, and Cass Kambala. And I told her that's only 4 players and you have no money left. And she was like, oh well. So she gets a walk-on for that fifth spot. Other than that, I love her team. She loved Anthony Marshall. That was her favorite player. All right, and then I had my wife do it, and she came up with Pat McCaw, Justin Hawkins, Isaiah Ryder, Keylan Boone, and Larry Johnson. Not a lot of size on that team. There's not really any centers, not really a true point guard. I don't love the fit of that mix of players, but there's still some really good players. All right, now we're going to get to what's really important, the team that I came up with. This is obviously going to be the best team overall, of course. No, but seriously. So I kind of strategized. And originally I was thinking I want tall players who can shoot, right? So because that's what UConn is. They're all tall and they can all shoot and they can all score. But then I thought about it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to beat UConn playing their game, right? So I think to beat UConn, I got to come up with something a little different, maybe something that they might struggle against. Okay, so what I did is I decided to focus on speed and athleticism instead of size and shooting, right? So I'm going Marcus Banks, Pat McCaw, Keylan Boone, Larry Johnson, and David Muoka. So the way I see it, Marcus Banks was a freak talent. Nobody can keep him in front of him. He was a senior, so he had the experience on top of the talent. I think he would absolutely destroy UConn. And, of course, I think LJ would too. That's 2 guys who were seniors and absolutely loaded with talent. I expect those 2 to just kick the crap out of UConn. And then Pat McCaw, I think, was perfect because he defends, he can pass, he can shoot. He's very versatile, so I could fit him into any spot I want on offense or defense. So I think he was a great fit. Keylan Boone, same thing. He was a good defender. He made big shots. He made tough shots. I think Keylan Boone is a borderline NBA talent. And he just came off of an incredible season for us. He also can play multiple positions. And then lastly, for my $1 player, I was trying to decide between Dwane Morgan and David Muoka. The reason I went Muoka is because he's 6'10" and he can block shots. He's not going to take shots where I could see Dwane Morgan getting the ball and like jacking up shots. Because he thinks he should be scoring with the rest of the guys. Whereas Muoka, he's going to accept his role as a guy who's just going to block shots and finish when he gets, passes down low or gets lobs thrown to him. And also, I like his size at 6'10" as opposed to Morgan at 6'7" to go against that giant front court of UConn. So that's it. So I got Banks and Larry Johnson who are going to give them the business, right? They're too fast. They're too athletic. They can defend. And then I have the other 3 guys, McCaw, Boone, and Muoka, who all they got to do is play defense and make open shots. That's it. So that team, coached by Jerry Tarkanian or Lon Kruger. Either one of those guys can coach this team. It don't matter. I'm gonna beat UConn. We're gonna take them down. So that's it. This was a very short episode, but it was fun. Okay, so I'm going to put in the show notes, all the players I have, and if anyone wants to send me their team that they would put together with $15, let me know. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to talk about it. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.